Carbonite is a word that will bring up the iconic image of Han Solo frozen with a painful grimace on his face for any Star Wars fan. The ever-expanding Star Wars universe created more use cases for the substance and gave us an incredibly iconic line from the Mandalorian.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
That's my line.
This transmission will explore carbonite, what it is, what it's for, and how it came to be. Carbonite is a liquid substance derived from carbon gas. Under the right conditions, it can be transformed into a solid state. The process happens very quickly, so it's used to preserve goods. Perishable ones or more volatile ones, like Tabana gas, the whole point of Cloud City, or coaxium. This process is known as carbon freezing. Using it on living beings is an old practice, an outdated one. It was common for long-haul space flights, necessary in the times before reliable hyperspace travel. Early explorers would use carbon freezing to place themselves in hibernation. Something like stasis, but not as good. For long voyages, so they wouldn't age too drastically traveling great distances. The process of freezing a living being was not pleasant. The freezing itself was very painful, and while frozen in carbonite, the brain was still fully aware. It was described as a wide-awake nothing. It also comes with a side effect, hibernation sickness, which plagues beings once they're thawed out. The method of freezing space travelers was thought up and perfected by scientists on Koros Major. When hyperdrive technology caught up with the galaxy's needs and more reliable medical applications to put a person in stasis were created, freezing living beings became rare. Carbon freezing was used only for industry and shipping. If you're getting value or entertainment out of any of my transmissions, it would mean a lot if you would join the Remnant and subscribe. Carbonite is a very tough substance in its solid form. The DLC-13 mining droids were made of this substance, which lets them withstand virtually any environment. These are the droids found on Mustafar, working in the lava fields. They could also work in the vacuum of space and in asteroid fields where freezing temperatures and debris were a constant threat to weaker constructed droids. Darth Vader testing Cloud City's old carbon freezing chamber on Han Solo is of course the most iconic and well-known use of the material. Not just because it's the first, but the emotional scenes before it and after it. Han was put through all of this just to see if Luke Skywalker would survive the process. While this is the first use we saw of carbon freezing, Legends has carbon freezing for living beings dating back thousands of years to Empress Teta, which is a system and a planet and the planet's ruler, it gets a little bit confusing, that was so essential in the Great Hyperspace War. Another legend talks of Darth Cyberus, a sadistic woman with the power to steal another's life essence. This would extend her own life. Instead of hunting her victims or going to war, she created a rumor of a wealthy princess's tomb. Instead of finding riches and a princess in need of saving when they went in, treasure hunters and archaeologists would free the evil woman and become victims of her wrath. Staying in carbonite slowed her own aging process and preserved her beauty. Then, using her vampiric power, it extended her life. I don't really know what her endgame was because she wasn't really living anyway, but that's what she was doing. In the Clone Wars, Jedi and clone troopers willingly got encased in carbonite to infiltrate the Citadel prison. Being locked in the unique substance made their biometrics invisible to lifeform scanners. Any residual effects were minimal for this use case given the very brief time that they were locked inside. In The Mandalorian, Din Djarin's Razor Crest has a carbon freezing chamber on board. Much smaller than the facility at Cloud City, but it's clear that bounty hunters had adopted this method as a way to reliably and safely transport their bounties. The concept of carbon freezing was created for The Empire Strikes Back. The idea was to have Han Solo's fate be uncertain as the movie ended. It also gives a good call to action for the heroes to regroup and rescue their captured ally. Empire director Irvin Kershner said that he wanted the scene to feel like an execution to enhance the emotional impact. Harrison Ford's infamous ad-libbing of "I know" as a response to Leia's "I love you" sell these emotions perfectly. To pull off the carbon effect, a mold was created of Harrison Ford's entire body. This process was uncomfortable and demanding for the actor, but the results, being so iconic so many decades later, are proof enough that it was worth every bit of the effort. The scene, concept, and Carbonite casts have been used, parodied, and referenced in countless ways. It was even featured at Disney's Star Wars Weekend, where fans could get their faces scanned and cast in Carbonite, which is probably something that Galaxy's Edge should be offering regularly. The Imperial Remnant is recruiting. Join as a member now to support the channel and get exclusive benefits. Check out this transmission next for more Star Wars lore.